What's up guys, Aroneous here with another Raid Shadow Legends video. In today's video I'm going to be going over whether or not you should be fusing this brand new Halloween fusion that's going to be Morrigan. So let's get right into it. Let me pop open the picture of Morrigan, go over her skill kit, and just explain to you why I do or do not believe you should be going for this fusion. Alright, so here we are. We've got Morrigan here, and kind of a strange name, honestly. I don't know if that's a name from like specific witches or something like that, but it's got a very Salem-esque vibe to it, or especially to her in general, because she's got, you know, the hands there floating. She's floating. She's definitely tied to a rock, and it clearly she's underwater. So I actually just recently went to Salem with my girlfriend. I think it was last weekend, and it was a blast. And they did talk about the witch trials and things like that. And she looks just like a witch. So she kind of looks like one of those fur babies, whatever you want to call them, little troll things too, which is kind of funky. But when I look at her hair, first time looking at her hair, it kind of looks like that. So let me just set myself up here so I can see this a little bit better. Alright, cool. So the Morrigan fusion, as you can see, she's got a pretty decent kit here. And in all honesty, when I first looked at it, I'm just thinking like, okay, she's got sort of an epic kit for a legendary champion. But then when I read into it a little bit further, I do think that she has some use cases. And I will go over those use cases as well. But first, let's start off with her A1, of course. By the way, I do recommend going to Salem if you want. Very fun place to be, especially if you're just looking for a quick scare, a couple of small haunted attractions. A lot of different tours, things like that. I really enjoyed myself in Salem. Anyways, let's get back to this. So, A1, Haunt with Hesitation. Attacks one enemy, has a 50% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. Okay. Decreased speed is definitely necessary in a few different places in the game. Actually, a lot of different places in the game. She can definitely be utilized in the faction wars, of course, for those who are, you know, low spend, free to play, just don't have a wide variety or any legendaries whatsoever. This is definitely a fusion worth it for that one thing alone, I guess. But then again, on the other hand, there's so many other champions in this game that have decreased speed. So it's okay. It does book up to a 70% chance. The other thing is, Plarium has been taking away our legendary books. Like, there's no way for us to get legendary books unless you're pulling for champions, and even then, a lot of times there's no legendary books to even get anymore. They're changing it out for like feasts, or they're changing it out for soul essences or immortal soul stones. And I don't know about you guys, but I don't really like that change personally. I mean, you're already getting soul stones from the Hydra. You're getting soul stones from other tournaments and areas of the game, and they keep just slowly pulling away books, which is kind of annoying. So it's hard to get books for these legendary champions to begin with. So let's go into the A2. Shriek of the Banshee. 75% chance of stealing all buffs from a target. Also, 75% chance of placing a True Fear debuff on all enemies for 1 turn. It does book out to 100%, which is actually really good. And then will place a 50% decreased accuracy debuff for 2 turns instead if the target is a boss. So you can steal buffs from bosses. You cannot place True Fear or Fear on bosses. This ability is very good for waves, but she's not damaging anybody. So it's just a basic ability where she's stealing buffs and she's placing fears. It's not a damaging ability, so you know that it's going to steal it pretty much no matter what. There's no weak hit involved, which is actually very good. The only issue I have here is that chance of stealing all buffs from a target enemy. So you have to target that enemy. I like that you can choose them, but if it's at random, this is not a very great ability. Okay, in the second part of the ability, 75% chance of placing a True Fear on all enemies for 1 turn. That is very helpful. I believe, personally, that's very helpful. It's going to go hand in hand with the new guy, Fortis. The guy that's for the guaranteed legendary summon event that's going on right now. Fortis's kit is all out of whack. It's weird. It's wanky. He does more damage based off of fears and true fears, and she could actually go very well hand in hand with him if they increase his damage, which they did say they're going to do that. So, Shriek of the Banshee, Morrigan may pair well with Fortis and Arena. However, a lot of people are a little bit skeptical about Fortis just because of the fact that his damage is already horrible. So unless they do something to make his damage worthwhile, he may end up still be sitting in the vault, and this champion may be used mainly to deal with Doom Tower waves, right? Having a true fear on Doom Tower waves is very important, and right now, for example, I like to utilize Mashalette a lot, where he uses that ability to put true fear on all the targets and then takes an extra turn. His kit is stronger in that sense because he's also placing buffs on our allies. This champion doesn't do that. This is more of like a free-to-play niche champion so far. The decreased accuracy, on the other hand, is going to be very beneficial for most of the bosses out there. I do believe that this is going to be an excellent champion that can place decreased speed and decreased accuracy on Bommel, right? A lot of people out there who are just starting a game or weren't around for the Totora Rhyme-Hide fusion, that's who a lot of people tend to use on Bommel, or at least free-to-play players, that is. Or they use just Geomancer. However, Shriek of the Banshee is a good ability to use against Bommel. Also a good ability to use against Agrath the Frost Spider. Right? So she's definitely viable in certain areas of the game. But she's very niche. Also good against the waves. Not exceptional. It's not a damaging ability. Let's move on to A3. Velocimancy. On a 5-turn cooldown, book down to a 4-turn, whereas the Shriek of the Banshee is booked down to a 3-turn, which is not terrible. Has a 75% chance of decreasing the turn meters of all enemies by 20%. Fills the turn meters of all allies by 20% and places an increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns. Okay, she's literally the definition of a miniature Lyssandra. Okay, so by all definition, this is a mini Lyssandra, in my opinion. I think it's just like her. Let me go ahead and showcase to you Lyssandra and what she looks like. So Lyssandra, I believe she's in the High Elves, so support-based champion. A lot of people out there still don't have her. If you're free to play and you already have Lyssandra and you're just looking for turn meter, Lyssandra's fantastic. She has transfers all debuffs from this champion to the target, fully depletes turn meter, and increases by 30% speed on all allies for 2 turns, which the Velocimancy is similar. It fills the turn meters of all allies by 20%, places a 30% increased speed. She does an increase turn meter by 30% and decreases the turn meter of all enemies by 30%. So it's about 10% less for turn meter fill and steal decreasing with Velocimancy on Morrigan as compared to Lyssandra's ability Energize. So not bad, kind of niche. Let me go back to her kit here. So that's kind of niche. Now, I just thought of another thing too. There's a champion that I want to go back to. Sorry, I'm going back and forth here. Another champion she might pair well with could potentially be, I think, another undead guy, right? Maybe not. Is he on a different... Might be on Shadowkin? Yeah. This trash champion right here. Noble. Doesn't Noble damage scale off of fears and true fears? Will ignore 30% of the target's defense, fills the champion's turn meter by 25%. If the target is under fear or true fear, decreases the cooldown of the Dismay ability skill by 1 turn. And this is on a 2-turn cooldown. Dismay is right here. Attacks all enemies, 75% chance of decreasing each enemy's turn meter by 50%. If there are enemies under fear or true fear debuffs, will also fill this champion's turn meter by the amount those enemies lose. So will Noble make it into the spotlight a little bit more? I kind of doubt it, because I don't know if he does enough damage. You guys know more than me in regards to Noble out there, especially if you're a pay-to-play player and you've utilized Noble. Then let me know in the comments down below what you think about Noble potentially making it into the spotlight. I just think he doesn't do enough damage. Alright, coming back here and looking at her kit. The passive ability, She Who Is Death. At the start of each turn, places a 100% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns on the enemy with the lowest HP. This debuff cannot be removed, transferred, spread, or have its duration increased or decreased by enemies or allies. I don't really like this ability because it's not something that can be resisted. It can be resisted, so it's not like it can't be resisted. This passive should have said it cannot be resisted, because you need to have accuracy in her build in order to land everything here. Okay, she does have a 19% speed aura, which is fine, but again, High Katoon has a 19% speed aura. There's other champions that are epics that have better speed auras than a legendary. Would have been nice if this person had about 23 or 24% speed aura. That's similar to Skull Crown. Skull Crown is a void epic, and she has a 23% speed aura in Arena, which I find kind of much better, especially if you're going to utilize this girl in Arena. Now, she does have a 19% aura in all battles, but still. So kind of going back to the passive, what is heal reduction good for? The only thing I can think of is some Arena niche areas. You know, in one of the spiders in Doom Tower, okay, where you need to put it on there in order for them to not heal up as much. Also, Sorath is the Frost Spider, so it would work against the Frost Spider. As you can see, heal reduction is very, very good. If you read through the boss guide, you'll notice why. Because not only does this right spider remove the debuffs, it also, I think he heals as well. One of them, I think, heals him. So it's actually very, very helpful and beneficial to have that heal reduction against this boss. But again, there are other champions that you can get that do heal reduction. So it's not a huge deal having this champion. I think, again, at the end of the day, this is a miniature Lyssandra. Very, very good for progression. Halfway decent champion. For those who are endgame, late game, may not want this champion. It may not be as beneficial to your accounts because you probably already have a wide variety of champions to choose from. At the end of it all, I do recommend going for this champion, especially if you want to boost your Arena teams, right? Make them faster. Especially if you want someone who can help with Doom Tower. Especially if you want someone who can be slotted into Tag Team Arena as well. She could be very helpful and beneficial there too, as a speed lead. So I do recommend going for this champion, but if you did want to skip her, it's not the end of the world. So that's going to be my take on the video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Appreciate you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel on your way out, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.